Hello and welcome back to the FPL Tom YouTube channel. In today's video we're going to be running through my first mock draft of the season. Obviously the game hasn't launched, but thanks to FPL.team we are able to kind of build our drafts with predicted prices and all the fixtures in and all that good stuff. So I'll leave a link to that website in the description below so you can have a go yourself. But this is the draft that I have built. I hope you do enjoy the video. If you do enjoy the content as well that you see on the channel, please be sure to like, comment and subscribe, as I do answer every single question down in the comment section below, and we're trying to hit 1,500 subs here on the channel. It would be absolutely amazing if we could do it before the start of the season as well. Would be a huge help to me and this channel. But that's enough waffle from me, ladies and gentlemen. Let's dive in to our first mock draft of the 23-24 season. And starting today's video, we are going to take a look at the back line to start off with. Starting us in goal is Sam Johnston. Now, only played 9 games last season, but I do believe that he did enough in those 9 games to cement himself as Crystal Palace's first choice goalkeeper. Obviously, during that period, Gaeta was injured, but for the past few games of the season, he was on the bench as well. So, you know, it does look like Sam Johnston has retained his place. It also looks like Roy Hodgson is going to be coming back to the club as well. Kind of initial talks confirming that he is going to be here for the upcoming season, which really for me kind of elevates the utility of the Crystal Palace assets as a whole, because once he came in, really solidified the defence and made the attacking options Elise Eze so much more clinical and lots better for us in FPL terms. So like I said, Sam Johnston not 100% nailed, but the reason I've gone with him is he does have a nice rotation with Aston Villa, and we've gone for Martinez in goal. So them two kind of nicely rotate for the first, I think, 7 to 8 fixtures as well. So around then when we may be looking to hit the wildcard button. So those two kind of rotate really nicely. Martinez as well is a really good standout goalkeeper. You know, a little bit pricey at 5 million, but with Emery there as well, could really be a good defensive unit this season. Moving into the back line, we do start off with Estupinian, one of my favourite players to own last season. So much so that I bought his NFT on So Rare. Absolutely buzzing to have him in this draft as well. I imagine he's going to be one player that does stick all the way up until the kind of team selection videos. Great opening 3 fixtures for Brighton as well. Luton at home in game week 1, absolutely delicious. Last season for him, 1 goal, 7 assists, 128 points. And what makes this man even more, just that little bit more extra special, is the fact that McAllister has left, so the main penalty taker is gone. That means it's a little bit up for grabs. Estupinian takes penalties for Ecuador, I think it is he played for. Scored one in March against Australia as well. If he could get himself as a penalty taker, he's already got the attacking potential and clean sheets on top of that. We are talking, ladies and gentlemen, absolute FPL goldmine right here. His price could massively accelerate as the season goes on if he does take penalties. Moving on to our next 2 players. Now, I've kind of put these 2 players together because they're both kind of playing out of position, if you could kind of call it that. John Stones obviously slotting in that double pivot with Rodri this season and having a huge effect on the Manchester City team and the results, potentially arguably leading to the treble. This kind of change in formation for Manchester City and change in position for John Stones. It does look like they might sign Declan Rice as well, so I do think that would limit the impact of John Stones in this team, but does have good long-term fixtures as well, so we're still going to be getting the clean sheets from him. Trent Alexander-Arnold, this new midfield role, obviously it was really highlighted in the England and internationals. I do think that he is going to stay as a defender in the game. Did play a majority of the games last season as a kind of quote-unquote defender, so I do think they'll keep him there. Last season for him, 2 goals, 11 assists, 156 points. Not the best start to the season for Liverpool in terms of fixtures, a little bit of a mixed bag, but he is a player who's got so much attacking potential, especially in that more advanced role, that he could honestly massively explode this season. Moving on to our final defender, and it is Mark Gahey. I just think he's a very steady 4.5 million. As I said, when Roy came in, you know, we looked at their kind of defensive numbers towards the end of the season, and they were massively improved after kind of Roy's training methods and his defensive system. XG conceded went right down, and the clean sheet started coming as well. And like I said, they do have that nice rotation with Aston Villa, so if you wanted to get a cheap Villa defender on the bench, I really like Moreno, but I think they're going to probably price him a little bit too expensive. But if he's around the 4.55 million mark, then him and Gahey could be a nice little rotation that you have got there. That was the defense of the team. Let me know what you think of it down in the comment section below, and let's move on to the midfield within our side. Moving into the midfield, and as you can see, we have gone for a 4 kind of midfield for game week 1, and Garnacho is the first player that we are going to talk about. Now, I know what you're thinking. This lad hasn't been playing, he's not consistent enough. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this could be the year that I'm banking that Garnacho is going to absolutely explode. And let me explain why. So, Antony potentially looks like he could be injured for a long period of time. An article in the Mail or the Times yesterday had kind of all the Manchester United players that they're potentially looking to sell. Sancho was on that list at 45 million. If, you know, they're willing to sell Sancho, Antony's out for a long period of time, they must have a lot of trust in Garnacho. Obviously, last year was his breakout season. 3 goals, 2 assists for him. I definitely think he's one that we're going to have to watch in pre-season. See kind of what his role is, how often he's playing, does he play the full 90, what position is he playing in. I think that's going to be the key indicator, but I definitely think he is a player that I'm going to keep my eye on over pre-season and would love to have him in the first draft, especially if he's priced correctly. If he's like 5.5 or 5, boy, we're talking some talent here for that price. You know, could be a massive differential as well for me at the start of the season. Like I said, it is all based on Antony and kind of Sancho and pre-season, this one. So a little bit of a gamble. He won't probably make it in the final draft, but he's a nice kind of player to target over the pre-season and have a look how he gets on. Moving on to a player that is definitely going to be in my final draft, and that is Bukayo Saka, second highest Arsenal scoring player over last season. 14 goals, 12 assists, 202 points. Did go missing a little bit towards the end of the season, but he is just a fantastic player. With Arsenal as well having such amazing fixtures at the start of the season, I really want to have this man and the man next to him, Martin Odegaard, in our team. 15 goals, 8 assists, 212 points for him. I don't quite like the other Arsenal assets as much as maybe 12 months ago. You know, there's a lot more competition in those slots. You know, you're thinking your Martinellis, you've got now Kai Havertz coming in, so that limits potentially Jesus, and Ketty is still there. Balogun's back from loan, but it does look like they're potentially going to sell him. You've still got Trossard, you've got Emile Smith-Rowe, you've got Nelson as well, so there's a lot of competition for these kind of attacking slots within this Arsenal side. With them having European football as well, there is going to be a little bit more rotation, but I just think Saka's quality and Odegaard being the team captain does put them two above the rest, and that is why I've selected both of them. Moving on to our final midfielder, and it is Matoma. Again, another player who absolutely romped last season, came out of nowhere. You know, 7 goals, 9 assists. You know, it's going to be a big season for him in my eyes as well. Good opening 3 fixtures, then it kind of tails away, but he's at that price point where there's a lot of good other midfielders that we potentially can switch out to. So I think for the first 3 fixtures, target Brighton and then look to move them on after game week 3 where they play West Ham. So move them on after that fixture. I think, like I said, it's going to be a big season for him. It's whether or not he can take his game to that next level, because there was so much more that he could have got out of the game. You watched him sometimes and it was so frustrating, because you know he's passing the eye test, but then it'd just be like a little little tap. I don't know why I did that, because you can't see my feet, but a little tap, and you just like, just whack it, son. Just, you're gonna score if you whack it. But you know, just didn't quite have it there, that little bit of clinical edge that would set him to like the next level of player. But I do think he has got that in his locker, just needs to improve his finishing. But that was the midfield of the side. Let me know what you think of it down in the comment section below, and let's move on to our 2 forwards and a quick run through of the bench. And completing our side, of course it had to be Erling Haaland. The man was an absolute joke last season. 36 goals, 9 assists, 272 points. All of that in 35 games as well. If he starts the season as well as he did last year, Oh boy, we are in for a treat. I imagine his effective ownership in game week 1 is probably going to be about like 150. It's going to be something absolutely ridiculous with them playing Burnley away as well. 14 million price tag is what they're going to have to slap on in this year, but with Manchester City fixtures being so good, eventually get there, I do think that he is worth that price tag, especially if you're going to be captaining him as well. There aren't too many other kind of high value assets within this team in terms of plus 10 million, so he is going to be a player that we are going to potentially be targeting every single week for the armband as well. So I definitely think he justifies his 14 million pound price point at the start, but if Manchester City's fixtures do tail away and he potentially tails away with Champions League, FA Cup, League Cup, all these other games kind of coming in, then I do think there is room this season that we potentially could see this man fall out of favour in FPL, and maybe go against him with captaincy might not be a bad shout in some game weeks, but we'll see how the season pans out. The next player that we have, and the final player of my mock draft for game week 1, is Evan Ferguson. Again, very similar to Garnacho, we're going to kind of have to see what the plan is in pre-season with him. It was his breakout season last season where he scored 6 goals, 2 assists in 19 games. A lot of them coming off the bench, but you can see with the games he's played for Ireland as well, he has got that clinical nature about him. A lot of hype as well. We've gone 3 Brighton players. They have 3 amazing fixtures to start off the season and play very, very attacking football. However, with Evan Ferguson, there is a lot of kind of other attacking options at Brighton as well. You do have João Pedro, who they signed for 30 million, Dennis Undav, who started to come into the game a little bit more, and Ciso can also play up front, and of course that guy Welbs as well, kicking on a little bit. But you know, I like the way that De Zerbi didn't just drop Evan Ferguson in every single game. He kind of rotated him, gave him the minutes when he needed to. Not great for FPL, but great for his player progression as a whole. So it is kind of one of them we will have to kind of wait and see how he gets on. But let's have a run through of the bench before we finish up. Obviously, we spoke about Martinez, that good rotation, Aston Villa, Crystal Palace at the start of the season. Both very good defences as well. The next player we're going to talk about is Branthwaite, or Braithwaite, not quite sure how you pronounce it. 4 million for him at Everton this season. Was on loan last year at PSV, where he played 36 games, scoring 4 goals and getting 2 assists. Plays centre-back. Now you might be thinking, well, Everton have got loads of centre-backs. Nope, Yerry Mina's gone. Connor Cody's pissed off, back to Wolves. They only really have Tarkowski as like their main centre-back, so I can definitely see Sean Dyche putting Branthwaite in there. He's played at a good level last season for a large majority of their games as well. So, you know, it's a big step up, but if we can get a 4 million defender who's playing week in, week out in kind of a more defensive system, happy days, works for me. Bryan Mbeumo is our next player we've got on the bench as well. Brentford do have really good fixtures as well with him. There is no Ivan Toney, so he's probably going to be the main striker this season for them. And with that, he is going to be on penalties as well, which is a massive plus for us and our team. And then the final player I've gone for, 4.5 million. Twine. You know, there's going to be a lot of 4.5 million players that we potentially could go for. I've gone for Twine because not last season, but the season before, absolutely tore League One apart with MK Dons. Went to Burnley, kind of picked up an injury, and then never really got his season going. So it will be interesting to see how he is utilised in pre-season and whether or not he is worth a gamble in that 4.5 million slot. That was the mock draft for game week 1. Let me know what you think of it down in the comment section below. And like I said, if you did enjoy any of the content, be sure to comment, like, and subscribe. But yeah, thank you very much for watching and enjoy the rest of your day.